Yesterday's injury report showed Cam Dantzler as a DNP with an illness and 5 other starters as limited. They are Jordan Hicks, Harrison Phillips, Garrett Bradbury, Danielle Hunter, and Adam Thielen. Thielen, non-injury related with rest, so doesn't count, but Danielle Hunter popping up with a neck injury, I mean, it's a big deal until it's not, because if you remember, back in 2020, Hunter underwent neck surgery repairing a herniated disc and missed the entire season. That was 2 years ago, and now the immediate concern is, well, did he re-aggravate that specific area? How bad is it? The encouraging thing is yesterday he was at least able to practice in some capacity, that is on a limited basis. Thursday's injury report, hopefully we see some improvement. As for the Vikings as a whole, second straight opportunity this week to clinch the NFC North division, beat the Indianapolis Colts. But for head coach Kevin O'Connell, it's on you and the offense the rest of this season. Because the defense is the gift that keeps on giving to opposing quarterbacks, you have to expect more of the same. Win on Saturday, win the division, clinch the division, and not only that, you also control your own destiny to keep the 2 seed. You can't take any chances, win out, and you'll be fine. And going back to this defense, Ed Donatell, man, this dude spoke to the press on Wednesday, and he is such a joke. He said, it's not my scheme that's the problem, it's the execution. AKA, I'm doing a great job. It's the players' fault. Blame them, not me. And this is only going to get worse. The only way this gets better is if Ed Donatell gets fired, which if it does happen, it will be after the season. And asked about why your secondary plays primarily off coverage, this dude said, and I want to make sure I read this correctly. He said, quote, "We just want to be tighter." What? That literally makes no sense. We play off because we want to play tight. I walk to work because I like to drive. Okay. And the best part of all this, speaking on Danielle Hunter, back in October, his struggles early on this season, he said, quote, "Every guy that's ever made that transition the first month looks about like that. That's pretty normal. There's a getting used to this role. Very, very normal. But we're very glad to have him. Okay, let's make that clear." He also went on to say, it's not a total adjustment. Fast forward to now, Ed Donatell speaking on Danielle Hunter saying, well, he's still getting used to it. He'll need the whole year. Excuse me, but sounds to me like a total adjustment. So just to make sure I got this right, you had the summer, practices, training camp, and now 13 out of 17 regular season games played, and he's going to need the whole year. Dude, Ed Donatell is such a joke. He's never going to exercise any self-awareness to say, okay, my scheme clearly is not working. How can I adjust to get the most out of my players? He's never going to do that. And apparently the head coach is never going to tell him that. Kevin O'Connell, Ed Donatell is making you look foolish right now. His defense is worst in the league, and he's going about this every time he speaks. He goes about it as it's everyone else's fault but mine, which last time I checked goes against the open-mindedness that you're looking for in your coaching staff. And here's the reality. Danielle Hunter, we'll see what his status is on the next injury report, but before this week, Danielle Hunter was healthy. And when healthy, he's one of the very best edge rushers in the game. Under Donatell, Danielle Hunter went from elite to just some guy. And the fact that every time this defensive coordinator speaks, the only response is, well, give it more time, that's unacceptable. Like Kevin O'Connell, I am rooting for our head coach, but you're still a head coach. And at times, head coaches, they got to have tough conversations and make tough decisions in order to do what's best for the team. Inaction also constitutes as support in this situation. O'Connell has been passive, allowing his defensive coordinator to make his team a laughingstock. Nobody takes the Minnesota Vikings seriously because of this joke of a defense. And every time the defensive coordinator speaks, it gets even more embarrassing. This coaching staff has chosen a scheme that clearly doesn't work over one of their best players who in this scheme is maybe 35% of what he was. And that ultimately falls on the head coach. You doing nothing says to me that you think Ed Donatell is doing a fantastic job. I like Kevin O'Connell, but this is weak. Tyler Schwenk says, might want to do your research before you post. Fangio is a hired consultant for the Eagles this season. He gets to add input and none of the stress plus getting money. He ain't going nowhere. Actually, Tyler, with all due respect, you may want to do research before you post, because since when did being a consultant this year all of a sudden shadow ban you from being a coordinator somewhere else next year? That's not how it works. And don't just take my word for it. Ben McAdoo, last year, 2021, was a consultant for the Dallas Cowboys, now a year later, currently the offensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers. Jim Bob Cooter, last year, was a consultant for the Philadelphia Eagles, right now, a year later, the passing game coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you're also saying, well, he's living stress-free, he's making money as a consultant with the Eagles right now. So now we're speculating. We're acting like we know what he wants to do. You don't know, neither do I. So until he makes a public announcement, or unless it gets announced publicly that he's getting hired elsewhere, all options are on the table. Frank Nitti says, for Kevin O'Connell to hire another DC is to say hiring Donatell was a mistake. Will KOC humble himself and admit hiring Donatell was a mistake? I don't know. We'll see what happens this offseason, but I really hope that O'Connell doesn't have too much pride to where he's unable to say, hiring Donatell, that was a problem, should have never happened. Let's wash our hands of it now. But I do get the sense that because of the sake of the culture and collaboration, that he may value relationships over doing what's best for the team. And if that is the case, if Donatell is the coordinator, the defensive coordinator in 2023, then at that point, you might as well trade Danielle Hunter, because in this scheme, he serves no purpose. So culture and collaboration would ultimately be the demise of one of your best players on defense. And that's a damn shame. Lastly, Maddie says, Randy, what would you say if the Vikings brought back Zimmer as defensive coordinator? To that, I say it's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. You want to talk about having too much pride? Mike Zimmer would never come back to the organization that just fired him, where he was the head coach, to now be a subordinate under a new head coach. That's just not in his MO. And I saw reports that he was allegedly going to be the defensive coordinator at Colorado with Deion Sanders as the head coach there. Then I saw reports disputing that, so I don't know what the hell is happening. But either way, Mike Zimmer will never be part of the Vikings organization again.